You think you're valuable because you show up on time and work hard. Wrong. You're replaceable. And the market knows it. Here's what breaks average people. They believe effort equals value. They believe loyalty means something. They believe their years of experience make them indispensable. The market doesn't care about your feelings. Your boss can replace you in 72 hours. Your clients can find someone cheaper tomorrow. Your competition is studying while you're scrolling. You are being outworked, outlearned, and outmaneuvered by people who understood something you didn't. Value isn't what you do. It's what you make irreplaceable. Stand taller. Most people optimize for comfort. They take the safe path. They avoid the hard conversations. They blend in because standing out feels dangerous. You know what that creates? A life of quiet desperation dressed up as stability. The 1% didn't get there by being nice. They got there by being necessary. By creating leverage that makes them expensive to lose and impossible to ignore. You're sitting on potential you've never activated because you're too afraid of what people will think, too worried about seeming arrogant, too comfortable in your current bracket. That comfort is costing you millions in unrealized value. While you're protecting your ego, someone else is building the skill stack that makes them 10 times more valuable than you. They're learning faster, moving bolder, demanding more because they deliver more. And the gap between you and them, it widens every single day you stay the same. Here's why 99% of people never increase their value. They confuse activity with achievement. They measure their worth in hours worked instead of problems solved. They think showing up early and staying late makes them valuable when all it does is prove they're inefficient. Your company doesn't pay you for time. They pay you for the problems you eliminate and the revenue you generate. But you've been conditioned to believe that being busy equals being valuable. It doesn't. I watched this happen to someone I knew. Smart guy. Worked in corporate for 12 years. Always first in, last out. Responded to emails at midnight. Took pride in his work ethic. He genuinely believed his dedication would be rewarded. Then they restructured. Brought in someone half his age who automated 70% of what he did manually. The kid worked 4-hour days and delivered triple the output. My guy, gone in 3 weeks. 12 years of loyalty evaporated because he never built leverage. He never made himself expensive to lose. He optimized for effort when the game was always about impact. That's the trap. You think your hard work speaks for itself, but work only speaks if it creates measurable value that can't be easily replicated. Most people are playing a game they don't understand. They're competing on effort when the elite compete on outcomes. They're trying to be liked when they should be trying to be irreplaceable. You rise by solving bigger problems. They survive by completing tasks. You build systems that scale. They trade hours for dollars. You create leverage. They create activity. Relax your shoulders. Power doesn't come from tension. The reason you're not more valuable is because you're optimizing for the wrong metrics. You want approval from your boss. You want your colleagues to think you're a team player. You want to avoid conflict and stay comfortable. So you say yes to everything. You take on work that doesn't move your needle. You spend 8 hours in meetings that could have been emails. You let other people's urgencies become your priorities. And at the end of the year, you're exactly where you started. Same salary bracket, same responsibilities, same ceiling. Because valuable people don't optimize for comfort. They optimize for impact. They say no to everything that doesn't compound their skills or expand their leverage. They protect their time like it's their most expensive asset, because it is. While you're drowning in busy work, trying to prove you're valuable, someone else is quietly building skills that make them 10 times more expensive. They're learning to code, to sell, to negotiate, to build systems, to speak on stages, to create assets that generate value while they sleep. They understood something you're just now realizing. The market doesn't reward effort. It rewards results that are difficult to replicate. You're not being paid what you're worth. You're being paid what you're able to negotiate based on the leverage you've created. And right now, your leverage is weak. The shift starts when you stop thinking like an employee and start thinking like an asset. Average people ask, "What does my job description say?" Elite people ask, "What problem can I solve that makes me irreplaceable?" That's not semantics. That's the entire game. When you think like an employee, you optimize for compliance. You do what you're told. You stay in your lane. You measure success by whether your boss is happy with you. When you think like an asset, you optimize for leverage. You identify gaps. You build solutions. You measure success by the value you create that didn't exist before you showed up. Harvard Business School tracked 2,000 professionals over 7 years. They wanted to understand what separated rapid promoters from people who plateaued. The difference wasn't intelligence. It wasn't education. It wasn't even work ethic. It was psychological ownership. The people who skyrocketed took ownership of outcomes, not just tasks. When something broke, they fixed it, even if it wasn't their department. When they saw inefficiency, they built systems to eliminate it. When revenue stalled, they created new channels without waiting for permission. They acted like owners before they had the title, and the market rewarded that thinking with money, authority, and leverage. The people who plateaued, they stayed in their lane. They waited for instructions. They did exactly what was asked and nothing more. They optimized for not getting fired instead of becoming invaluable. Same company, same opportunities, completely different operating systems. Here's the mental model shift that changes everything. Stop asking, "How do I keep my job?" Start asking, "How do I make myself expensive to lose?" Those questions create entirely different behaviors. When you're trying to keep your job, you play defense. You avoid risk. You don't rock the boat. You protect what you have by staying small and invisible. When you're trying to make yourself expensive to lose, you play offense. You take calculated risks. You solve problems that expand the business. You become so valuable that losing you would cost more than keeping you costs. The psychology here is critical. Most people operate from scarcity. They believe there's a fixed amount of value they can create, a fixed salary they can earn, a fixed ceiling they can hit. Elite performers operate from abundance. They believe value creation is unlimited, that if they solve bigger problems, generate more revenue, or eliminate more friction, the market will pay them accordingly. And they're right. Breathe deeper. Certainty changes your physiology. Here's where most people break. They believe being valuable means being busy. They confuse motion with progress. They think the person working the longest hours is the most dedicated. But look at who actually gets promoted, who actually gets paid, who actually builds wealth. It's never the person working the hardest. It's the person creating the most leverage. Leverage means your output isn't tied to your input. You create systems, processes, or assets that generate value independently of your time. You build once and benefit repeatedly. An average employee trades time for money. They work 40 hours. They get paid for 40 hours. The ceiling is obvious. A high-value asset creates multipliers. They build a sales system that generates revenue while they sleep. They train a team that executes their vision without micromanagement. They create intellectual property that compounds. Same hours, completely different outcomes. This is why two people in the same company with the same role can have wildly different trajectories. One is thinking in tasks. The other is thinking in systems. Stanford's Behavioral Economics Lab studied decision-making patterns in high performers versus average performers. What they found was disturbing. Average performers optimized for immediate approval. They made decisions based on what would make their boss happy today, what would avoid conflict, what would keep them safe. High performers optimized for long-term positioning. They made decisions based on what would increase their leverage in 6 months, what would build skills that translate across industries, what would make them harder to replace. The average performer asks, "Will this make my boss happy?" The high performer asks, "Will this make me more valuable?" Different question, different career. Here's the shift most people never make. They think value is about what you know. It's not. It's about what you can make happen. You can have 3 degrees and 20 years of experience and still be worth $70,000 a year if you can't translate that knowledge into outcomes that move numbers. Meanwhile, someone with half your credentials, who can close deals, build systems, or generate revenue, they're worth $300,000 because they create measurable value. The market doesn't pay you for credentials. It pays you for results that compound. This is why you see people with impressive resumes stuck in the same salary bracket for a decade. They kept learning. They kept getting certifications. They kept adding to their LinkedIn profile. But they never built leverage. They never created outcomes that made them expensive. They optimized for looking valuable instead of being valuable. And the market sees through that instantly. You want to know the real shift? Stop trying to be good at your job. Start trying to be impossible to replace at creating specific outcomes. That's not about working harder. That's about working on different things entirely. The person who's impossible to replace isn't the one who does their tasks well. It's the one who solves problems that directly impact revenue, efficiency, or growth. The one who builds systems that scale. The one who creates value that didn't exist before they arrived. They don't ask for permission. They identify leverage points and execute. They don't wait for their annual review to prove their value. They demonstrate it weekly through measurable impact. They don't hope someone notices their hard work. They make their results impossible to ignore. That's the operating system. That's the mental architecture that creates value the market actually pays for. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. Every decision becomes a leverage calculation. Every project becomes an opportunity to build irreplaceability. Every skill you develop gets filtered through one question. Does this make me more expensive to lose? If the answer is no, you're wasting time. Stop waiting for permission. Start tomorrow by identifying the 3 biggest problems your company is facing right now. Not your department, the company. Revenue bottlenecks, operational inefficiencies, customer retention gaps. Pick one, build a solution. Present it with data. You don't need approval to think. You need approval to implement. So think first, build the framework, show them what's possible. That's how you shift from task taker to problem solver overnight. Cut your calendar in half. Look at every meeting on your schedule this week. Half of them are unnecessary. Half are status updates that could be a 3-line email. Decline them. Protect your time like it's your most valuable asset. Because it is. The people who become invaluable aren't available to everyone. They're available to the work that compounds their leverage. Start saying no. Watch how fast your value increases. Document everything you do that creates measurable impact. Revenue generated, time saved, processes built, problems eliminated. Build a results portfolio. Update it weekly. When you walk into your next negotiation, you're not asking for a raise based on loyalty. You're presenting evidence of value creation that's impossible to ignore. Numbers win negotiations. Feelings don't. Learn one high-leverage skill this quarter: sales, copywriting, systems design, public speaking, data analysis. Pick the one that multiplies your output. Dedicate 1 hour every morning before your workday starts. No distractions, no excuses. In 90 days, you'll have a skill that separates you from everyone at your level. Stop networking for coffee chats. Start building relationships with people who operate 3 levels above you. You don't need friends. You need models. People who show you what the next bracket looks like. Reach out with value. Send them insights. Share opportunities. Solve small problems without asking for anything. When you provide value first, access follows. Track your time for 1 week. Write down every single thing you do and how long it takes. You'll be horrified. 70% of your time is spent on tasks that don't increase your value. Meetings that accomplish nothing. Emails that don't matter. Busy work that makes you feel productive while keeping you broke. Eliminate the 70%. Double down on the 30 that actually moves your leverage. Sit straighter. Speak slower. Take up space. Your physiology signals your value before you say a word. The person who rushes is the person who's replaceable. The person who moves with certainty is the person who commands rooms. Practice this in every interaction. Watch how people respond differently. Build something this month that generates value without your direct involvement. A process, a template, a system, a piece of content. Create once. Benefit repeatedly. That's how you stop trading time for money and start building assets that compound while you sleep. Stop asking what you should do. Start executing on what you know needs to happen. The gap between knowing and doing is where average people live their entire lives. Elite performers close that gap within 24 hours. You already know what makes you more valuable. You're just afraid to do it because it's uncomfortable. Do it anyway. You walk into rooms differently now. There's no announcement, no introduction needed. People feel the shift before you speak. Your energy has changed. You stopped asking for permission. You stopped explaining yourself to people who can't see what you're building. You move with the certainty of someone who knows their value isn't up for debate. The conversations change. People who used to dismiss you now lean in when you talk. Opportunities that were closed suddenly open. Offers appear that never existed before. Not because you got lucky, because you became expensive. You're sitting in first class now while everyone else argues about legroom and coach. You didn't ask for the upgrade. You built the value that made it automatic. Your calendar is different. You're not chasing meetings. You're declining them. Your time became scarce because people realized what it costs to access you. The clothes fit better. The restaurants are quieter. The conversations are about billions, not thousands. You stopped living in survival mode and started operating in expansion mode. While they're still worried about job security, you're building equity. While they're negotiating for an extra week of vacation, you're structuring deals that generate passive income. While they're trying to be liked, you're becoming irreplaceable. You look at your bank account and the numbers don't shock you anymore. They're expected. They're the natural result of the leverage you built. The penthouse view isn't a fantasy. It's Tuesday. The wealth isn't surprising. It's systematic. You stop explaining this to people who don't operate at your level. They wouldn't understand anyway. They're still playing the game you abandoned 3 years ago. You're not bitter about it. You're just done pretending effort equals outcome. You built systems while they worked harder. You created leverage while they stayed busy. You became expensive while they stayed replaceable. And now, the gap is permanent. You're not trying to be a billionaire. You're thinking like one, moving like one, deciding like one. The money follows the identity. Always has. Most people will never understand what you did. They'll call it luck. They'll say you changed. They'll tell themselves stories about why it couldn't work for them. Let them. You don't need their understanding. You need their absence. The people who matter are already in rooms with you. The ones who see what you see, who move how you move, who understand that value isn't given. It's built. You're not more talented than everyone else. You're just unwilling to be average. And in a world designed to keep people comfortable, that makes you unstoppable.